Hey everybody, Muggz here, and it's finally time, once again, for Muggz' MK Classroom. We're continuing our lectures on sandbagging, in which we go over some of the best bagging strats on some of the most baggable tracks in MK8DX. And today I'm feeling a little parched, because we're going to dry desert. Let's go. Now, if you missed my first lecture in this series, that would be the How to Bag Toad Circuit video, then you may want to watch that video first. There, I cover some of the bagging basics, like item probability distributions and what affects them, general item management, and more. I won't retread those old grounds here, and instead will focus on what skills you will need that are unique to dry desert. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into the technicalities of bagging dry desert. Okay, so before I show some real racing footage, let me just introduce one of the keys to bagging this track. That is, understanding how far speed items will get you through the off-road, and exactly which corners to cut. Watch these races and this footage to understand the first part, and the latter part is pretty simple. The track is divided into 3 colors of sand. The lightest is the path you drive on. The darkest sand means that if you go there, Lakitu will pick you up. And the remaining sand is basically the off-road. It'll slow you down for driving on it, unless you have a speed item. However, if you were using a speed item, then you can drive through it at the same speed as you can drive on the main road. So, since this course is basically 4 right turns, albeit with some wiggles here and there, you can greatly reduce your driving distance by driving to the right side of the main road towards the inner barrier of the track. Doing so with an item like a star or a golden mushroom is a great way to make a quick comeback. Watch this footage and note how much ground I can make up doing this. It's what makes bagging such a powerful strategy on this course. However, be sure not to run out of your mushrooms or stars in the middle of the dirt, as this could result in you getting stuck. So just a cautionary tale, but notice how many opportunities there are for shortcuts on this map. Alright, now keep those cuts in mind as we watch some races. Also, try to take note of which cuts save more time. You'll want to get the most out of your speed items, and using a mushroom to take a small cut through the dirt now might be foolish if you can use it later to take a large cut through the dirt. Okay, now it's time to watch some bagging. Now in this first race, I actually forgot to bag it first. But that's okay, it illustrates the fact that it isn't really how the race starts, but it's how it ends when you're bagging. Plus it gives me time to mention that this race had frantic items on, and this is worth noting because frantic items will make powerful items easier to get, which makes bagging even more viable than under normal items. So, I putz along and wait for a chance to start bagging. And before long I take a hit, and that's my cue to throw in reverse and collect some items. I do so and pull triple mushrooms, then a boo. This is fine enough, I have plenty of time to change out my items again, and since I plan on doing so, I'm not going to take any cuts before the next set of items. This will increase my chances of getting something really desirable. I churn along while keeping an eye on the minimap and cycle out the triples. I also finally get to 10 coins, and the boo helps me keep them, since I utilize it to dodge the blue shell. Now, if boo gave me something great, I may have kept going, but triple mushies and a red shell isn't much to work with, so I stop and plow through the triples to get something else. But I get more trips. This is fine still, there's a lot of time left, and this is a good time to mention that making a late surge on dry desert is often best, in my experience. More to come on that fact later. Now, I even take a green shell to the face here, which instills a sense of urgency in me, but I know I can use speed items for a quick, last-second comeback. Now, I start chaining my items through the off-road. Note how I hug the inside of the track, but swing back to the main road, only to pick up another item. Being in 9th place and so far behind first, it's bound to be something good, and it's another star. I use it ASAP and make a play for the double items at the next set. I get him, and it pays off with 4 mushrooms. Now I just need to hold these and take that final shortcut, and I should win it. Fortunately, no shocks or shells come, and I'm able to maximize my mushrooms and cut through the dirt on my way to a first place. We cross the line, and it's over. a solid win. Note how much ground I was able to make up on the last lap alone. And this was without a bullet bill, a golden mushroom, or a shock dodge. Dry Desert is built for bagging in this way, as even a star and triple mushrooms can be enough to do serious damage, if used wisely. You just have to optimize where you are using your items. To further highlight this point, let's watch another. So, the race begins, and again, you may be thinking I forget to bag, but this is not the case. While you may use the strategy of stopping at the first item set, as we did on Cheeseland and Toad Circuit, I prefer an alternative strategy on Dry Desert. I proceed as if I were running the track until I get to the quicksand. There, I perform a full 1.5 turns of the loop, while staying in a drift the whole time in order to collect coins and get to 10, which as we know is vital when sandbagging. Now a few notes here are the following. Number 1, if you catch some dirt or somehow lose your drift around the loop, Lakitu might pick you up. It's annoying, but if it happens, just get going to the next items and try to get coins on the way. You don't want to spend the whole race in this loop. 2, you don't need 10 coins, since there are 3 on the left side of the track once you leave the loop. So if you can get to 7 coins, then you should be able to get to 10 right after. 3, even if I have 10 coins, I still go around the loop. Running this course is a nightmare in my opinion, so I go around even if only to initiate the bagging process. Still, if you would rather bag the classic way, that is by stopping at the first item set, then you can ignore this loop strategy and go with that. Just make sure to get those coins by whatever means necessary. Anyways, after leaving the loop and getting items at the next set, I find myself with triple mushrooms and a star. We have already seen how much ground we can make up by using these items wisely, and we're about to see it again. Like last time, I watched the mini-map to make sure I'm not too far behind, nor too close. And also like last time, I assessed that taking shortcuts now would catch me up too quickly, so I just drive like normal. When I do get to the items, I don't even change them out. I probably am not going to get anything better than what I've already got, and what I have is good enough to make a comeback. I just proceed on driving as usual, and again refuse to cycle my items at the next set, again for the reasons I just mentioned. Suddenly, I find myself in 4th with very nice items when I clip a star body. Ouch. I decide to use a mushroom to recover quickly. Also, I take a gamble and use the final 2 mushrooms before the item box. Now this was a risk, as I could have gotten something as bad as like a single shell. However, I could have gotten another set of triples, which would be very nice behind the star. What I do get though is triple reds. Honestly, not bad. Now I have the star, but I do not take the cut through the off-road after the oasis. This would probably put me in 1st or 2nd, but then at the next item set I'd probably get junk. I would rather hold the star until the next item set, drive normally until then chain the star into the item box and cut through the dirt there. Getting that more powerful item may come in handy after all. I get to the item box and chain my items and get exactly what I wanted, a mushroom. As we saw, this can be used on the cut after the oasis. I red shell 1st place, especially since a red was already coming for them. Here we should note that red shells may pass you and target the next player ahead if you have a star activated and the shell isn't already locked onto you. So this takes him out and puts me in 1st with 2 protective shells and a mushroom. Now I just drive as fast as I can. The mushroom can be used to dodge a blue shell if needed, but I'm lucky and I'm able to save it for the final shortcut. The shells make me feel safe the whole time. I backspam them before I take the cut in the dirt, then shroom to an easy win. Blah 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 blue. Now in this race, I made my push for 1st a little earlier than I would like to, but as you saw, it can still work out. I was afraid of a shock taking my star away, and I knew I could gain a sizable lead with the items I had. Hopefully enough to withstand any late game attacks. Fortunately, there weren't really any attacks I needed to withstand, and the win was cake. Okay, let's see another race. Now that we've seen a couple, you might be starting to observe a pattern. Again, I'm doing the ring around the quicksand strategy. I mostly just drive normally until then, and I have some trouble getting coins on my go around. But I get to 8, and get the next 3 after the loop, and then get my items. I pull a boo and a star, not bad. Good enough for now at least, so I just drive normally until the next items. I actually decided to use the boo around the first set of items, because I don't want to boo long term, so I need to burn it at some time. And when I use it, I get triple mushrooms. Pretty good. I drive normally until the next items, and then I chain my star into them. Another star would be great, but I pull a blooper, which is virtually useless to me. Oh well. On top of that, I forget how to drive briefly at the next items. In fact, I miss all the items and catch some dirt, and have to waste a mushroom. At this point, looking at the mini-map, I'm still a decent distance from first, but I'm in a middle place with pretty shaky items. It may not be looking good. But like I said in the Toad Circuit video, you have to always be ready to change strategies on the fly while sandbagging. Now, I take the mushroom cut after the oasis, because there's a lot of other sandbaggers here, so they'll probably take the cut too. And on top of that, I don't want first to pull too far away. I waste the mushroom, and the blooper because why not, before the next item set and hold my breath. But I get a stinky boo, which steals me 1 measly mushroom. But it's okay, while I would have loved a star or a golden or shock or something, there's still time to get a better item. I use the mushroom and then just barely get the double item box, and that pays off big time, as my first item would have been a red shell, but I get triple mushies behind it. I take out 5th place with the red, then drive as fast as I can. Looking at the mini-map, I see that the cut at the end won't be enough by itself to catch me up to first, so I use a mushroom to speed up a bit. Then, I get inked, so I use another mushroom to catch up a bit more and clear my screen. Now, looking at the map, I am close enough to value my mushroom for the final cut. It probably won't be enough alone to get first, but if I ditch it and pull 2 non-speed items, I might get last. I decide to only get 1 item and go with that and the remaining mushroom. Not bad though, I get another mushroom and now it's crunch time. 2 mushrooms is enough, I think, to pass first and second, so now my biggest concern is the group of baggers behind me. If someone gets a shock, or shells me, or comes through with a star and a golden, it's likely game over for Wario. But none of that happens, luckily. But a toad with triple mushrooms passes me with 2 of the 3 mushies left. At this point, we both have 2 mushrooms, plus Toad may have another item behind it. Things seem dire. However, Toad makes a mistake and uses 2 mushrooms closely together and also seems to bump a tree. Using mushies close together like this is unwise, unless you are trying to get rid of them, of course, because you are already boosting from the first mushroom, so another mushroom on top of that doesn't help any further. You can't get double boost. So it's best to wait until the boost from one mushroom runs out before using the next mushroom. This is what I do, which gets me into first, and I cross the line just before taking a hit, so it's a win for Wario. That last race was intense, as everybody was making their late round push for first, plus the 2 runners had a nice lead. But in the end, attention to detail paid off for me, as did item management and smart item usage. And, well, also a bit of luck. Now, if you've watched my other bagging videos, then you know I usually stop after 3 examples, but this time I'll show 1 more. As we watch this final example, I really want to emphasize how important it is to make a late push if you can, or at least be aware that the option is available to you. Because of the nature of this track, if you get ahead too early, and then say a blue shell comes when you are defenseless after the oasis, or maybe a shock comes then, you may be in trouble. On the other hand, if you can come through the last stretch armed with good items, then your odds of survival are much better. Anyways, to the race. I circle around the oasis, as is my MO. I catch a bit of dirt, but release my UMT in time to keep a high enough speed to prevent Lakitu from interfering. I get to 10 coins right after the loops, and item up. All mushrooms. I actually take the cut and plan to hold my golden until an opportune moment, but I get a bit abused on the straightaway and end up hanging around the first item set to exchange out the triples. I pull more triples, and because first is so far ahead, I chain my golden through some off-road. I'm not trying to get into first, but I don't want to fall too far behind. Since my golden won't run out before the next items, I take full advantage of the cuts available to me. And suddenly I find myself in 5th and near the front of the pack. With triples, my hope is that I can just race better than everyone else, avoid hits or a shock, and take cuts wisely to eke out a win. I also get a single at the next items, which isn't bad. I take the cut and try to avoid taking a hit, but I absorb a horn. And it gets worse too. I fall asleep at the wheel and don't use my mushroom in time for a new item at the set. Now I'm praying for a good item at the next M set. The MK gods work in mysterious ways though, because then a boo steals the one mushroom I did have. So, I have to do it. I rebag at the next set. I pull another single, go back, get red shelled, yikes, but then pull a star. I use my mushroom and star to cut through the off-road as fast as I can. Looking at the mini-map, I've got some work to do to catch up. I'm hoping for some good luck finally at the last item set, but the MK gods do me one better. Boom! Lightning bolt avoidance. I plow past the tiny drivers and grab the double item box and get mushrooms. With 4 mushies, I cut through the dirt and pull off the late comeback. What a race. Winner, winner. Again, that race helps to emphasize how a late comeback is always possible on Dry Desert. If you didn't realize this, you might not have decided to rebag like I did so late in the race, and it probably would not have worked out too well for you. That decision to rebag paid off for me with a victory. But yeah, those are the 4 races I wanted to show as examples of how to successfully bag Dry. To be honest, this video could be twice as long, because when you have a room filled with excellent players, the details matter even more. For example, we didn't even encounter bullet bill strats, which by the way, I usually mostly just try to burn my bullet bill on this map. They're not the best, but you can still utilize them to their full potential. We didn't get into shock strats either, which is a whole nother ball game. And heck, we didn't even really get into the golden mushroom strats on this map, which are vital when playing in a room packed with highly proficient players. But then again, with that said, these lectures are meant to give you the fundamentals of how to bag these tracks, not the advanced lectures. But maybe one day I'll return to tackle the details of advanced lectures on these tracks when sandbagging. Still, value what we have discussed here. Remember what you have learned. Manage those items wisely. Do this, and I guarantee that even you can become a big winner via bagging. A catcher-upper in the clutch. And the true dictator of Dry Desert. So with that said, everyone out there, take care and bye-bye.